I think I got it.
Well, I know the meeting has not officially started yet. I will comment to Melinda. We have a lot on the agenda tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Do we?
Hey, Eric, how long do we wait for folks to show up before we can call?
I would say 6:33. I would give it another, maybe 5 minutes at the most, and then go from there.
Well, I just texted CJ, see if, I also heard from Sean Lewis that he's double booked, so he's in another meeting at the moment, and asked that we just move his part back from first thing on the agenda. Here comes CJ.
So sorry. This is CJ. Sorry to be late. Thank you, Melinda.
Oh, okay. Well then, we have a quorum. So let's come to order. It's 6:35.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and do roll call here.
All right.
Chair Ellswick,
Here.
CJ Cullinan,
Here.
Matthew Crabtree,
Here?
Lauren Cooper, looks like she's absent. Jason O'Brien.
Here.
And I know Councilmember Cuesta is going to be absent tonight as well. And for staff present, there's Eric Sampson, Madeline Hinkfus, and Chris Hargeth and Lucia Magnuson from the Communications Department. And so as Melinda was saying, that we're going to need to adjust the agenda since the city manager was double booked. He said he should be able to make it on by 7, but we would need a motion to amend the agenda to move the neighborhood signage update to maybe after the Pinyon environmental presentation and Ashley's.
So moved.
Second.
So our first item, of course, is to approve the minutes of the July
Oh, hey,
meeting.
can I have a motion for the amendment of the agenda, please?
I did. See,
I know, but I need you to like flesh it out for me. Just
You have to state it if you want.
yeah.
agenda will be adapted so that the city manager can come in at a later time.
That's second.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, call the question.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, that looks like it was unanimous from all members present.
Yes.
And for
Okay, now you
clarification,
now you can move on.
okay, and for clarification, and then I'm sorry, I'm out of order here just a little bit, but for clarification, we'll be moving, for that motion, we will be moving the neighborhood signage update with City Manager Lewis after the Pinyon environmental study.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I move to approve the minutes as is.
Second,
Is there anyone opposed to approving those minutes? Then let's,
Can we just do it all in favor, please?
all right. Would all in favor please indicate by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And that was unanimous among all staff or all members present.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Englewood Engaged presentation from the communications team. And Chris Hargis, I imagine that is you.
Chris, we cannot hear you if you're speaking.
Sorry, I had technical difficulty sharing my screen. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. We'll get started. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us. I'm Chris Hargis. I'm the Director of Communications for the city. First of all, this has been a kind of arduous process here, but we're making some great progress. And I want to thank everyone for their hard work on this project as we're nearly ready to launch our community engagement campaign for the Neighborhood Map Project. And my slides don't seem to want to advance. And I just want to throw out a huge thank you to Commissioners Federici and Crabtree. They did so much work on the tools that we're going to be using in this campaign. And I want to talk a little bit about the city's community engagement plan. Earlier this year, the city adopted the community engagement plan. We did this because good communication and authentic public engagement will lead to better results for us and everybody that we serve in the community. This plan is our roadmap and should be followed for any public engagement effort moving forward. The plan outlines large-scale community engagement efforts, and the communications department, as outlined in this plan, is responsible for leading these efforts. With this particular effort, we plan to include HPC as a contact, as a partner, and we'll certainly share any relevant information moving forward. The plan also outlines the various tools we use to successfully carry out this campaign. And I don't know if you're all familiar with it, but one of our primary tools is called Englewood Engaged, and that lives on the city's website. The tools created by Commissioners Federici and Crabtree will be moved onto that Englewood Engaged platform. And again, we greatly appreciate the work that they put into those tools. I think really for me and the rest of staff, the great thing about Englewood Engaged is it essentially turbocharges, for lack of a better term, what the commissioners gave us with the tools. And just to give you kind of an idea of some additional tools that Englewood Engaged will kind of throw at this campaign are a searchable address bar on the map, a surveying tool, an interactive page where residents can see and leave feedback, which I think leads to greater transparency. And what's really important to us, I think, is having an audience that we've already built on the platform that we will have access to. And then there's many, many more tools within the Englewood Engage platform that Lucia Magnuson in the communications department is about to walk us through. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to our web and social media specialist, Lucia Magnuson. And then following her presentation, Neighborhood Resources Coordinator, Madeline Hinkvis, is going to briefly kind of give you an overview of our communications plan that we put together. Our entire staff really put this together for the entire project. So with that, I would like to introduce Lucia Magnuson.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Lucia, and I am going to walk you through our wonderful Englewood Engage page today. So, Chris, I feel so bad, but it says I can't share my screen while you're sharing your screen. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we started this platform March 24th, so it's pretty new, but it is a community engagement platform that is project-based. So everything about the project will be housed on this platform, and it has a bunch of tools that residents can use in order to interact with it. For this project, we have implemented a map that you can search for your address or location and find where the neighborhood map says that you are located in the point of these districts, which is really cool because just in case you aren't aware of where you are located, it will tell you right away. And it will also tell you a bunch of historical information that's been gathered. So you can see how this was established and what is going into these boundaries right now. And then there are two tools located at the bottom. One is the survey, and this will also have the map housed on it. And then we also have a comments and feedback section. So just in case people want to give their opinion, they can in this section. And then another way that people can give their feedback will be to utilize the Who's Listening over on the right-hand side of the page. We have the Historic Preservation Commission over there. We also have Eric over there. One widget that will be utilized that is not active right now because it's in draft mode is the Stay Informed widget. So you can subscribe as new updates come out about this map project. We can notify people who are really invested in it and want to know more about what's happening with this. So I'm going to walk you through the survey a little bit. We made sure to keep the map also on the survey page so you don't have to switch back and forth. You can actively search your address still with this map. And then, Madeline, did you want to go over the questions?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. So these questions, after I'm done going through the community engagement plan, I just wanted to run through them and finalize them with the commission. Eric and I discussed, and we just added a couple more questions to the survey that Matt and Helene had already created. So we are going to discuss those after.
Perfect. Well, I will hand it to you unless there are any questions for me about this platform.
I do have a couple quick questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to try to relay some concerns from Helene here. One of which was, I guess the first part of this is we wanted to make sure the council had the opportunity to review this before it went too far outside of the commission. Now, obviously, we did have an opportunity to bring this up with the Historic Preservation Society, the actual historic society in the city. We did receive a little bit of feedback there, and I'm sure that could be easily relayed on this. But also, what is the plan for the next steps here? Is this something that's going to go to council as the next step, as we would hope it would be, or is this totally live right now?
It is not live right now. Just to answer that quickly. Go ahead, Madeline.
Matt, I'm actually going to present a timeline and things.
Oh, perfect.
So do you want me to do that first, or do you want to keep asking your questions?
I'll keep asking questions. And sorry,
Okay.
jumping ahead a little bit.
No, please.
The second thing was a concern of with the page that we had created. Just for the record, I'd like to know what the benefits are of going to a city-run page and the reasons, I guess, behind that. I'm paraphrasing here. I'm addressing a question for Helene. We both worked really hard on this, so I want to try to relay as best as I can here. Going to a city page versus using a third-party page. What's the reasoning or expectations behind that?
Matt, are you able to hear me? I'm having a little trouble with my connection.
Yeah, I got you, Chris.
Okay, great. I think I tried to outline some of that, initially before we presented. Again, the city has a community engagement plan. I really can't recall where, things that the say an independent department would be charged with would be turned over to a board or a commission. We have an entire staff, and this is what we do. And I look at this as a partnership between our department and HPC. You will certainly be a contact on the page. You will have access to all of the data, and the tools that you created exist on this new platform. We have
Sorry, Chris, we lost you.
changed that. I mean, they might look a little bit different, but they certainly. Did you guys lose me again? I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I
lost
really
you.
apologize.
Can you repeat that last part of it?
Yeah, I have a bad connection. So like I said, we have moved over the tools that you created into this platform. Now, they may look a little bit different, but they're going to function exactly the same. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was on the record here. The secondary point to this is if we receive any input from us directly, what's the best method and the best and most efficient method to get that to the actual page itself, get the individual items updated or the information collected? If we receive anything specifically, like for instance, received input from the Historic Society, Englewood Historic Preservation Society on one boundary, and that was the Jackson Broadway Heights, or Jackson Heights, should have been actually called Jackson Broadway Heights. And the border to stay historic was recommended to be moved a little bit. So recommendations like that, what's the easiest way to get that to the city in the most prudent and efficient way?
Here's the thing that I really like about Englewood Engaged is there's a variety of ways to give the city feedback on that page. And, Lucia may want to jump in, but there's the option to upload files if there's any documents that we need to see or that you need to see. And again, we're going to share all these files with you. They can email you. You're listed, the HPC is listed as a contact on the page. They can email Eric. He's listed as a contact on the page. And one thing I really, really like about this platform is there's a way for citizens to give feedback directly on the platform where not only HPC, the communications department, but anybody can see that feedback, other residents. It's a very transparent platform. Again, multiple ways that feedback can be given and information can be delivered to us and you.
Good. The last question here, and we can get to Madeline, is the email address, the hpc@englewoodgov.org. Where does that address to right now?
That might be for
I'm going to defer to Eric on that. I just copied the email address, Matt, off of the webpage that you and Helene created.
Okay.
And say that one more time. You're kind of breaking up on my end there.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Or like your last question. That just
my
got
last question is the hpc@englewoodgov.org. That email address. Where does that go to?
Actually, right now it goes nowhere. We were looking at that this afternoon, and the HPC email address doesn't seem to be working. So we need to have a conversation with IT or have it go directly to the community development email, which would then basically get routed to me. So yeah, that's a conversation we'll need to have with IT moving forward.
It's possible that that may not actually exist, the email address, but that's fine. But going from here, trying to quell some of the, I guess, concerns here that Helene had brought up was, lastly, is it possible that all of the commission is made aware when a entry is made to the actual form itself?
Yes, we can, oh, I don't know if Chris is trying to talk. We can add email addresses to all the submissions. So as submissions come in, everyone can get informed if you want to.
Chris?
I wouldn't mind, a summary per day or a couple days a week. I don't know. I don't want my email to get back.
Okay, and that's something we can discuss. Like I said, I'm simply relaying concerns. Chris, you had jumped in there for a minute. I wanted to hear your input on this.
I apologize for this connection. Are you able to hear me?
I got you.
I think that Lucia articulated that perfectly. I mean, another really good thing about this platform is the reporting that we can do. And if it's a report that you'd all like to see on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, a daily basis, I mean, that's something we can supply to you, and just we'll make sure that you have access to everything that comes our direction.
Okay. And for the record here too, and my opinion may differ slightly from Helene's on this, but I viewed the page that we created as a prototype, and understanding open records requirements and things along those lines that had been previously addressed. Going forward with a city site is definitely the better option. It's a safer option, I think, for the city, and considering from the standpoint that our emails are directly tied to that Wix site, I don't want to ever be in a situation where an open records request was pushed and deferred to me on this. But I think to quell the concern that Helene had addressed in not using our site, the prototype, as the production environment, we would need to have fluent and transparent communication between, which I would hope would be expected.
I would like to reiterate that, we are obviously partners in this. It's been a little bit of a rocky road to get to where we're at this evening, but we're partners, and I feel like we're on the same page. And I think the rest of our staff, I think the city manager, I think we all feel the same way. So we're excited to move forward into this next phase.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Madeline?
Thanks, Matt. Okay, I am just going to run.
One quick question.
Oh,
One
yes,
quick
yes, CJ.
For people that don't have computer access, is this in print format? How can they get that?
That is something that we are going to have to address. We're definitely going to have to print it and give.
Whenever we embark on it's outlined in our community engagement plan. But we will address those issues. We'll make sure that whether it's at the Maui Center, Englewood Recreation Center, we will make sure that everybody has access. And Madeline will do outreach to the individual neighborhoods. Everybody that would like to fill out the survey in the city will have access to the survey and the ability to fill it out. So yeah, thank you for your question, Commissioner Cohen.
Any other questions, CJ? Or okay, sounds good. Well, I can quickly go through this. So when the communications team embarks on a community engagement effort, we fill out a strategy, and this is all outlined in our community engagement project or strategy that was created and launched this year. So the project, I mean, everyone can read. The project is we're asking community members to submit feedback about the proposed Englewood neighborhood map that has been created. The purpose The city would like to finalize an official citywide neighborhood map. We would like the community to submit feedback and historical records about the proposed neighborhoods. The level of engagement that we selected was involve and collaborate. There's 5 levels of engagement, and this level of engagement, we partner with the community and we keep them updated, and we really want their feedback and their input about the project. The goals, we want to give the community an opportunity to submit feedback on the proposed neighborhoods. We want to encourage people to submit historical records, educate the community on the historical significance of the neighborhoods, and then formalize and adopt an official neighborhood map. Stakeholders, all community members, the Historic Preservation Commission, decision makers, HPC, City Council, and then the City Manager's Office and the communications team. Timeline, we were thinking about launching in October and having it go for at least 2 months, if not more. It's my understanding after talking to Eric that the survey that you are working on is going to close sometime in October. And so this really, after one survey closes, then we can open another survey after that to launch this campaign. So then we have some communications and techniques that we use to engage the community. The fall issue of The Citizen comes out in mid-October. So we were discussing a big spread in the magazine. Englewood is launching a podcast. So we are hoping to have an episode about the Englewood, the project, and how people can get involved. Obviously, we'll have a social media campaign. You've seen our Englewood engaged map, some booths at special events, and then some out-of-box techniques. We could organize a lecture. And then we also thought about maybe having a neighborhood field trip where people who are interested board a bus and we go to different neighborhoods, and it's essentially a lecture on a bus, and you just tell them about it, and we go from there. And then after this, then we'll evaluate after the project has been completed. So does anyone have any questions about this?
Hey.
Yes. Matt.
The original, and I'm just reiterating kind of the previous discussions on this. So original idea was before this went public to the community, to get council members' input on this. And the kind of the justification of that is, one, I suppose they're going to get any kind of feedback in front of this from the community if it is wrong. So it'd be good to get their buy-in initially. And second of all, you know, as one of the functions of council, they stay connected with their constituents and the close to the community and the areas, and specifically the council members that are responsible for districts know their areas very well. So they may be able to identify a problem ahead of this going to the community.
Agreed.
Is it possible to, prior to the launch date, get this ahead of council quickly?
And it making it a goal.
Yes, hear me? Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Well, now you're muted.
You're mute. Hi.
How about now?
Hey, there you are.
Yay.
It's confusing. I don't even know what to say right now. I unmute it, come back, and then it mutes itself. So
Yeah.
At any rate, yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a great idea. I will talk to City Manager Lewis and see how quickly, at the City Clerk's office, and see how quickly we can get this on a study session agenda item. I do know that, you know, I don't know, hopefully we can get this out and on the agenda before we plan to launch, but if not, we'll just, you know, we'll wait and we'll launch it at the appropriate time. But I think that feedback from City Council on this would be very valuable. So we will get that scheduled and make it a priority.
Okay.
Now, the only other agenda item on communications agenda was to talk about, and we can do this at a different meeting too, I'm not sure how much time, but we were talking about the survey, and we just wanted to have everyone take a look at the questions that were asked, and if you wanted to change any of them and finalize them. So we asked if people are residents, if they support the map boundaries, if they would like to change them, if anything is missing, then they can select. And then we really like this feature because people can upload documents if they want to contribute anything. If they have something laying at home and they would like to contribute it to their feedback, they can do that. And then is it okay if someone contacts you? So that is the current survey, and we are able to change this at any point. We would just like to get this finalized before we do launch the community engagement effort in October.
Real quick question on both number 3 and 4. Is there a limit to how much comment can be written?
That is a great question. I can find that out. Lucia might know that answer. This is the long paragraph option that I selected. So I am not sure how many characters, but I can find that out, CJ.
Just because I was thinking some people should be warned. And then if they handwrite, you know, that kind of thing. Sometimes writing is so hard to even say print it, please, you know. But just
Yeah.
2 ideas. So.
I believe it's 1,000 characters, but I will double check that for you, Madeline.
Before we move on to another topic, I do have a statement here real fast, but I don't want to hijack any collaborative discussion that's happening on the questions right now. So
I'm done with my questions.
And I didn't have any comments on these. I think they kind of broadly cover the information we're kind of people are looking for.
I guess 2 things. For benefit of transparency because obviously Helene and I both worked very hard on this. Helene and CJ worked even harder before I got involved.
Only for 4 years, no big deal.
It would be good to have this information available at the next meeting. When Helene said she would be present, just simply out of respect of the fellow person that worked on this with me. And the fact that this doesn't go live until October, sounds like there's an opportunity to maybe make that presentation again. I do also want to say that there's been a lot of tension associated with this, and I appreciate what I see right now. This is coming from me personally. I appreciate the work and the help from the city on this. It's not exactly as the plan that was maybe initially laid out, but I'm okay with, personally myself, not speaking for Helene, but personally myself, I am okay with the direction that this is going. I think this is really good. So thank you all for this, and I think we're getting to a good point. We'll all work together.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for showing us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Historic Preservation Commission, and on behalf of our team, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know there's some work been going on from the city too, so not just us. So let's move on to the opinion survey, which has some connection here to Ashley. If you're ready to, I've noticed it's on the city's website.
Yeah, so the survey went live only 5 days ago and already has a really unprecedented response. We already have more responses than I've seen from most communities in the totality of their survey process. So I did kind of want to start by sharing screen and showing you some of the preliminary results. Let me go in here, screen 2. Share. Are folks able to see this?
Yep.
Perfect. So as you can see, we're 5 days in, we already have 68 total responses. So I'd anticipate that we end up with quite a few by the end of this period. Again, I think it's been referenced already on this meeting that the anticipation is to leave this survey open until October 1st. It is on the city's webpage, I believe. Eric has it located there, as well as the city's Facebook page. It's received several shares already on social media. So it is getting a little bit of buzz that direction. And I think that that's probably part of the responsibility of this level of response already. Couple things that have really struck me already is that most of our responses are overwhelmingly from homeowners in the area. I know that was something that the commission was interested in, so I'm really glad that we nuanced that. We had homeowners, renters, and visitors as options. And so as we scroll down, you can see very limited visitor response. Bulk of it is homeowner response, and with a couple examples from renters. So, I mean, we're still early, but for right now, we're getting a lot of responses from folks who are homeowners in Englewood. We're going to get a lot of data that we can pull in terms of preservation outcomes, context, and themes that we can start to build surveys around as we go forward, or survey planning around as we go forward with the project and the documentation. A couple of the other things that keep going there that really resonated with me. We asked people to freely identify what landmark, historic site, or neighborhood most represents Englewood's history to them. And we've got a really broad and interesting array of responses. And I do have those into the updated PowerPoint. I'm actually really glad that we ended up tabling discussion of the reconnaissance survey at our last touch point. I've adjusted where in the timing of the project I think that fits best. And I think that at this point, we're probably going to look at doing that reconnaissance phase in October for a couple points. You know, folks who've done architectural survey in the past know when you're doing windshield survey from the public right of way, it helps when the vegetation is dead because it's out of the way and you get better photos. But then we can also use some of the public responses to drive the kinds of things that we're looking at in that recon phase. The other thing I wanted to point out, not a lot of photos, unfortunately, coming in that upload opportunity, but a lot of folks are taking advantage of the opportunity to provide us contact information and indicate that they are interested in either updated results of the survey, volunteer opportunities. So we certainly have a really growing list of interested folks in the community. So those are my major takeaways from the preliminary results at this point. I don't know if folks have any questions or want to see something in particular right now. Absolutely. CJ.
I got my request for the survey from the Chamber of Commerce. I thought that was interesting.
Nice.
I don't know how many of the 68 were from the Chamber of Commerce. I have not seen it on nextdoor.com, at least in my area. And then I was curious, can somebody do that, make that happen?
Eric, is that a question for you? Could that be posted on Nextdoor?
I don't have much to do with Nextdoor. I think that might be a better question for the communications department. I know they've been working with the Facebook page and Englewood Engage. So I don't know if Nextdoor is an option on that article.
We can certainly, I'll check and make sure that it hasn't been posted on our Nextdoor page. Can you all hear me okay?
No.
You're breaking in and out. It sounds like you got a bandwidth issue potentially.
We'll check into that, though. If it's not on Nextdoor, we'll make that happen.
Thanks.
Right. I mean, one of us could do it, but it really ought to come from the city.
Any other questions, thoughts, or observations on the preliminary data, the preliminary responses?
What do you feel is a good goal for respondents?
Oh my gosh, we've already exceeded what I would have put as a goal. Initially, I would have said about 50 would have been an ambitious response. So we've already exceeded that. At this point, I would be surprised if we didn't receive 100 to 200. And I think that'd be a pretty solid response.
Quick question on this. What was the, how many people did this go out to? Do we know? An estimate of the amount of people?
I don't know. That might be a better question for Eric. And I just know that it's on social media at this point. So it has a pretty broad reach at this point.
Okay. So social media from the Facebook page specifically was the source of most of this?
I would imagine this doesn't track the source of where it came, where the responses came from. So typically at this stage of the game, I'd be talking about how to up the responses, and some of the strategies that we've explored in the past that have been successful are personal asks. So if you have the link to the survey or you have it on your social media and you can pull it, or you can pull it off the city website, you can pull it off social media. You can also just pull the link to the city website. So personal asks from the commission within your network to say, you know, hey, I know that you're a resident in this area, or you run an organization, a business, etc. Would you consider offering feedback on this survey? So if there's that personal ask that a commission member can carry forward, that's going to drive our numbers up. Couple other things we have upcoming. And I think this is a topic we'll want to discuss a little bit too. We've got the Celebrate Englewood event coming up on the 28th of this month, which is next Saturday. And we have a booth for this project, for the HPC and for this project. We will have paper surveys available there. I'll have a QR code that you can scan on site. So if folks are coming through, they can scan the QR code and take the survey on their smartphone device at that time. For folks who are uncomfortable with that, don't have that technology access, paper copy will be available. I can collect those at the end and have an intern import them into the system so that we can still capture this, we can still download and nuance the data. But we can have that variety of capture. We also have a booth lined up for the Englewood Block Party in September. So same deal. We can capture people who are walk through, again, QR code scanning or paper copy as folks are comfortable. So we've got a couple different ways of capturing different types of folks in different ways over the next month and a half.
Great. The only reason why I brought up what the saturation was, or I don't know what the technical term is, I'm sure there's a technical term for that, but the how many people this reached was just to kind of understand, you know, I guess I've always subscribed to the theory that you send out 100 and maybe you get 10 back, right? And it could be really interesting information if it's possible. Maybe it's not possible to track terribly. Maybe on Facebook it is. How many people it's gone out to that might be available.
I'm not positive if it is. I've done some that have like a video attached to it, and the video will track how many views it has. So that tells you how many people have engaged with that posting. And I think on the operations side and communications folks may be able to answer the question better than I can. I think you can see how much your social media traffic has increased month over month. So it's not an immediate one-to-one that they're engaging with this post, but you can track if your social media engagement has gone up month over month. I don't administer a Facebook page, so I don't completely understand how you gather that data, but I think communications folks would probably know how to fill in that statement better than I can.
I mean, it's not a huge issue for me, I suppose, but it is more of a curiosity, because if we're getting more than other communities, that could be an interesting argument to use for the purpose of historic preservation in the city and other things along these lines. Is that, you know, we're getting, instead of the 10%, we're getting the 20 or 30%, and that could be. That momentum could be used in conversation with council to say, this is a big topic in the community right now. We need more attention on this.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't have comparative data to that level to be able to hand you, right?
Sure, and it may not exist. I understand.
It's very colloquial from me right now that this is just a bigger response than I've seen.
Hey,
Thank you.
Ashley, is this too
Actually-
much to ask? Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
CJ.
Quick point of order, CJ. Chris has got his hand raised. Can we jump to him real
Thank
quick?
you. Can't see it. Thank you.
Crabtree, I'm happy to answer that question. We can track the engagement on all of our social media channels, and we'll be happy to provide that data to you.
Okay, that'd be good to know. That'd be good statistics that I think we as a commission could probably utilize. So I'm sorry, CJ, I jumped in ahead of you.
Oh, no, don't be. It's just CJ being lazy. I don't know how. Is there any way, Ashley, I could get the link so I could just send it out on Facebook or Arapahoe Acres and different, like you said, personal one-on-one attachments?
Yeah, so I already did that. I grabbed it off of the Englewood's Facebook page, and where it says share, I was able to share it forward to my page. So you can do that. And I think that's probably the easiest way. And then it carries forward.
For you to send it to me. Okay.
Do we have? I don't have it open. I was going to say, do we have Eric? I don't know if you're available to maybe pop that into the chat. The link to the survey.
Yeah, I can try. CJ, you should have received an email with the link to that survey as well when I sent it out to HVC.
Sorry. Thank you. Never mind then.
No worries.
This is Nancy. Getting back to Matt's question about the saturation, when I posted it on the city's website, I also sent it out to all subscribers of City News. I don't have that number at my fingertips, but I can mail that to everyone tomorrow if you'd like.
Thank you, Nancy. That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
That'd be super helpful. If the information is readily available and it doesn't take a whole lot of staff time to derive, I think that's hugely beneficial.
Okay. And Ashley, I do have just a curiosity question. Is there any way to know where the people doing this survey, are they in Englewood, or is it could be nationwide, correct? That are responding?
The only thing we have to measure it is their self-identification as a homeowner, renter, or a visitor.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, we didn't nuance down to, is this your primary residence? That kind of thing.
No, I was just curious. Thanks for that.
Absolutely.
Arguably, to kind of dovetail in on that, arguably the only people that would get this would probably be in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I would imagine those were the folks that are the target, and those are the folks who are the most likely to respond. Wouldn't make a lot of sense for somebody in middle of the country to be responding.
Well, unless they're a visitor or have family in the area.
Right.
And then, of course, at that point, that would be valuable information still at that point, because there is a connection and tie back to the community.
Yeah. I think there's some nuance we could have gone to at that level. Typically, I wouldn't have anticipated enough response to make that nuance overly viable. So I'm really impressed with what we've got 5 days in. And we do have a lot of folks who are self-identifying as homeowners, whether or not that's a primary residence. Again, we don't have that data to nuance. If I had to guess, I would guess this is their primary residence. But again, can't make that as a concrete statement. So anyway, I mean, this will be really interesting to track. We're definitely going to have a lot of really interesting data. And then Matt, to your point, I think there's going to be information that has viability beyond the context of this project. I do want to be respectful of folks' time. I'm going to jump over to PowerPoint. And I think there are a few slides, but I think it's kind of the latter part of it we can go through fairly quickly. So again, today I just wanted to go over our public engagement planning, preliminary planning for the reconnaissance survey, and kind of into the next steps in discussion. From a public engagement standpoint, we've already touched on this. We have the survey that's live. Wanted to look at it, potentially identifying stakeholders. I know we talked about this a little bit last time, that it might be viable to identify and engage specific stakeholders, and that might be something that we wait until October once we've got the results of this survey and we see who's responded, since we are getting a very large range of responses and we are getting folks who are offering up their contact information. Identify avenues to engage interested public, right? We have the Celebrate Englewood and the Neighborhood Block Party. Looking forward, like I said, I'm really glad that we tabled the discussion of reconnaissance survey at the last meeting. So at this point, I am looking at targeting that for October after this survey closes, and we can talk a little bit about some of the benefits for that in the next slides. And then looking at drafting the document kind of in the winter months, and looking at having a public meeting with a draft to respond to. So we have a lot of data coming in from kind of this open call for public information, allowing that to inform our drafting, and then coming back to the public, being able to say, you know, we took the responses from the late summer, early fall, built forward. This is what we were hearing from you, be able to have that draft to discuss at that point and use that as a driver going into the final document. Eric, I don't know if you wanted to touch base with the Celebrate Englewood event coming up. I know when you and I last spoke, we were still looking for volunteers to tend that booth.
Yeah, and I was going to actually bring that up under staff's choice. But yeah, I have not heard, I actually heard back from Jason, and he's not going to be available on the 28th. But we are still looking for 2 members of HPC to volunteer to help man the booth at Celebrate Englewood. It would be 2 shifts. The first would be 9:30 to noon. 9:30 would help with setup, and then noon to 2:30, and then the 2:30 one would kind of help with takedown. So if any of you present tonight are available or interested, please let me know as soon as possible. And also I can send out a little nudge email to those members who are not in attendance tonight to see if they are available or have any interest.
Eric, I don't know. I might be able to make it. I need to check still on that, so I can report back to you here in the next couple of days.
Okay.
Eric, do you want to talk at all about some of the planning that you've done, the swag that you have, or are you planning on bringing that up later?
Oh, I mean, yeah, we can go ahead and talk about that now. Communications was great and printed us a banner that has the Englewood logo on it, as well as the HPC logo. So we'll have that hanging at the booth. And then we'll also have, to go along with the paper copies, some City of Englewood pens to hand out as well. So there's a couple interesting things that we have going on there. And then there'll be a little gold panning event on our booth as well.
Fabulous. Okay, so moving forward, I did want to touch base on the Recon Survey. Again, we're targeting this for October of this year. The idea behind the Recon Survey is that we can capture representative sample of themes, geographic locations. We get a sense of the relative historic integrity of resources within the city, and helps us start to identify those survey types again. The way we've done Recon at Pinyon, we've paired it with Survey 123 and the Collector app. I cannot explain how it pairs, but that does allow us to survey off of a tablet or a smartphone device, and it ties back into both ArcGIS, so it maps all the sites that we capture, and it can tie back into a form. So usually in a Recon setting, we would be doing a table. This does enable us to capture a pretty wide swath of resources. I'd anticipate we could incorporate at least something in the neighborhood of 200 on this Recon phase. So it gives us an opportunity to take kind of a broad representational sample of the types of resources in the city. We're not super limited because it is a very efficient process. So I wanted to go through some of the categories of resources that we were looking to incorporate into that Recon phase. We will be building that infrastructure in September, so that's ready to go in October. We wanted to make sure that we were capturing the types of resources and locations that were of interest to the commission. So those are what the next slides are for. I can't see hands up as I'm presenting, so by all means, feel free to jump in and interrupt me if there's a question or if someone else is able to see a hand up. So again, one of the things that I think is going to be really powerful is that we are seeing a lot of interesting responses from the public through that survey. So I want to make sure that some of the top hits, and again, these are just some of the preliminary ones that are jumping out at me as I'm going through the early data, a couple days into the survey. But we want to make sure that we're capturing some of the interesting locations and certainly the top hits that the public is identifying as of interest. And some of those are ones we would have anticipated, things like Arapahoe Acres, and some are probably anticipated by the commission, but were interesting and new to me. Another one we want to capture, we have data from the Office of Archaeology and Historic Preservation in the SHPO office. So we have the resources that have already been surveyed inside of Englewood. Some of the ones that I am recommending that we focus on are examples like the Gothic Theater. That resource is inventoried currently as a needs data site, so it's not officially eligible, it's not officially not eligible to the state or national register. Obviously, Englewood could explore local listing, that kind of thing, right? We don't have to be exclusive to the state and national register. But some of these resources, like the Lowell School, Englewood Masonic Lodge, also in that needs data category. I think those are ones that would be really interesting to capture on a reconnaissance effort, kind of see where they are today, from how they present today. There are listed resources, of course. Those I'm going to recommend that we spend a little less time focused on in the recon phase, because we do have good data on things like Arapahoe Acres, Englewood Depot, Hopkins Farms, things that are already listed to the state or national register. Obviously, they're going to be of high interest, but we do have good data on those already.
A quick point, Ashley.
Absolutely.
Lowell School, the Englewood Masonic Lodge is gone. That was demolished back in.
It's now under a large apartment complex.
Yes. That building sits right across from Safeway, and I'm trying to think of when that was torn down. I believe that was right around 2013 that was torn down. So
that's a good point. We won't use that one.
Yeah.
The next few slides go through by decade.
On that Lowell School, what's nice is the Historic Preservation Society does have the cornerstone that was saved.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's fantastic. So the next few just go through by decade. I don't think that any of this is going to be new information to the folks on this call, how the city developed, but we do want to make sure that we're capturing representative sampling by period as well. Interestingly, there are only 7 extant, so existing properties constructed before 1900. So I'm recommending that we include all of them, since it's a small number. And 1900s, still fairly early. So this is kind of an interesting representation too. So as we go forward, we can watch the city build. In each decade has a different color. And at the end, we have one map of the whole city mapped by decade. That is something that we are producing to have in the booth for both of these public touch points and ultimately the public meeting, as an interesting thing for folks to engage with. And we're looking at having push pins so that folks can come up and put their pin in where they live on the map, so that there's an element of interaction. And it'll be interesting to see kind of where folks who engage with the process live within the city. And I think that'll give us an interesting way of saying, where geographically people are connected to within the city. And that might actually touch a little bit on, do people live here? Right, that's one of the questions that we had off of the early results of the survey. So I want to make sure that we're capturing the early development of the city, just kind of into what I'm calling the city core. Right, we have this very strong representation around Broadway that comes up, 1920s. Again, there are some outliers that start to pop up. 1930s. So this is kind of where we sit pre-war on the eve of World War II, with, for the most part, the city is concentrated in that Broadway corridor and the couple blocks off. A couple outliers. One of the things that Eric and I remarked on is that we didn't see the strong representation along the railroad, and I don't know at this time if that's just because those are no longer extant from the period, or if the city really truly was just focused along the Broadway core. So from a reconnaissance standpoint, again, I'm recommending that we include all the pre-1900 locations, all 7 of them. That for this period, we concentrate representation within the city core, but include some outliers to represent industry, agriculture, or other themes, which may be these kinds of resources out here. There's a couple down here as well. Moving forward, of course, World War II changed a lot in this country and certainly changed a lot in Englewood. In the 40s, we're still kind of focused on the core. But as we go to the 50s, we really start to see things change, like very, very specific plan developments along the outer limits of the city, kind of starting to frame up the existing limits. So for this period, for the 1950s, we would want to be grabbing representative samples from some of these plan developments in the outlying areas. The 60s and 70s really do appear to be a continuation of that theme of subdivision development, a little bit of infill into the city core as well. And so here we are in the 70s. So we mapped through the 70s. We didn't continue to present day. So this is everything that could be considered potentially historic in that 50 years and older, or on that cusp of becoming 50. So from the kind of post-war area, looking at focusing on subdivision and plan development, capturing infill examples within the city core, and capturing, again, outliers that may represent industry or agriculture. Okay, let me go, let's go here.
Just amazing, just amazing. I mean, this kind of needs to go with Chris and Madeline's map thing, right? I mean, that's just amazing, just amazing. One of the things that I had heard was that more of the railroad workers and stuff lived closer over toward Logan and different areas like that because of the flooding that happened from Broadway towards the railroad tracks, because of the way the water flowed. Just FYI.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't not being close to the railroad so much as not being close to the river.
Yeah, right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I also have a question here on the map here, the one that you just been on 1960s, and I believe also on the 1970s map. There are small icons on there that there's a music note at Yale and Broadway, and over off of Bellevue. And is that Bellevue? A little disoriented here. I think that's Federal. Looks like that's Federal down there. A little bowling ball there. What are the? And then there's like a little shopping cart and a church and things like that. What exactly is that? And is there some significance to those?
I am not seeing that.
Federal and Bellevue, if you look there.
Oh, you know what? It's because I captured this off Google Earth. Those aren't on the final map that was exported. So all the Google Earth icons aren't there. So I transparently took a screenshot of this in my Google Earth to put into the presentation before my GIS specialist was able to export the final clean product.
Okay.
So they're Google Earth icons. Apologies.
I was just curious what that was. Thank you for clarification.
I also had a question. I was wondering if there could be a key somewhere as to the color coding of the various developments as they come forward, like this is this decade and this is that
Absolutely.
decade.
There is on the clean copy produced by my GIS specialist, and he went so far as to also export a bar chart that shows you how many there are per decade with their representative color. So he's got the key and a bar chart.
Okay.
Sorry, one more point. I do notice that there's data that leaks over into Littleton here, for instance, on Pretense, what is this? Pretense Avenue? I think that's anyway.
Printed, yeah.
Prentice, thank you, jeez. Prentice Avenue. That did sound right. It doesn't seem like a real clean and definitive cutoff here for Englewood boundaries. Will that be on the official map?
He put the official Englewood boundaries on the clean map, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was thinking over by the other side of Broadway and Bellevue, there's just a little part that is Englewood. Okay, cool. And I was curious, what do you think, Matt, the gentleman that gave the lectures of the different landowners and boundaries of Englewood? What do you think his input would be on this type of thing?
Well, he has a lot of data that dates all the way back to the original land grants and the original, and has it all broken down into the different regions. So all the way, the original homesteaders that came in, the very first, grants provided for land, and then it kind of, as it scales down to present day. So he would probably have a lot of information to provide for this. We can certainly reach out. His name is escaping me right now.
Mine too.
And Don Roth. His name, yes, Don Roth is yeah.
Actually, he's someone that's spreading out over 3 different presentations of the development, quote unquote, of Englewood. And it would just be cool if he could look at your things and if he specifically, he would, to me, have more the compulsory detail than anyone else right now that I know of.
Yeah, I'd love to have access to any materials he's provided from a research standpoint as we go forward building this. So if that's available and someone can point me in that direction, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think.
What do you think, Matt? Can you get it to her?
Yeah, I'll get. I can reach out to Don and ask him. Literally, he has 3 presentations that are about 2 hours long, dating all the way back. An incredible amount of information in there. So I'm not sure how he has it all organized, but I think Don would appreciate I'll talk to him obviously, but I think he would definitely appreciate his research going to a bigger thing like this.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ashley.
Absolutely. So I think really the last question on this was, are there any specific resources of interest to the HPC that you would want us to build into that recon that haven't been captured in the previous sketch?
Oh, I guess the one thing I felt was kind of missing was the original downtown to Englewood and the main street that was over where the police department is now. I know I ran across that on a map somewhere, somehow. Did you run across that, Ashley?
Not in this exercise, no.
Okay. Well, Don will have it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't have anything particular. I just kind of wondering your thoughts on, again, kind of seeing especially the 50s and 60s, those planned developments. And, it's kind of fun on the map, seeing the curved linear roads kind of pop up and stuff. Since Repo Acres is a big story too, where you kind of, I was just kind of curious your approach to some of those planned, if you have any plans for those other planned developments, do you think they're kind of worth, some additional focus, or, I'm not saying they have to be, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I think we can probably, usually I'll identify per resource. In a recon, we'll end up with one thumbnail photo. I can explore getting multiple, because like you said, on these, the layout is as important as the buildings themselves, right? So getting those kind of landscape photos that demonstrate intentional plantings, curvilinear streets, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be really important from a understanding of those resources standpoint. I think that that's definitely something I can see percolating already as something to recommend as a survey. I mean, that's clearly where there's a very strong building trend in this area, and strong extant representation. So I can see that definitely being a recommendation that we look at either thematically or development by development, look at surveys within the plan.
Ashley, Arapahoe Acres by Diane Ray Tomaso has a book, and I was wondering if I could get it to you and you could give it back to me. A book about Arapahoe Acres.
Could I grab it through the library?
I'll say I think so.
Well, who is the author?
Diane, and then Ray, W-R-A-Y, and then Tomaso, T-O-M-A-S-S-O. We had to do a reprint recently. Well, not recently, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago now.
Making a couple notes here.
Yeah, which reminds me, CJ, I still have the book I borrowed from you a year and a half ago, the Between You, Me, and the Fence Post. I'll get it back to you one day.
Cool. Only when you read it.
Oh, I've enjoyed it, and it looked up some of the houses that are actually mentioned by address in there that are still there. So yeah, I don't know, that might be another source for Ashley too. I guess that book.
There you go. Loan it to her then.
Or just shoot me a list. I can grab them from the library.
The title is Between You, Me, and the Fence Post.
Perfect. Other ideas at this point? We do have until October, so if you have a brainwave, let us know. But we have to build the infrastructure for it to be that efficient in the field. So we're probably going to be building it middle of September.
That's just amazing, Ashley. Just amazing.
I have amazing GIS folks who make me look really good.
Well, one other research subject that I can think of would be Cinderella City.
Mm-hmm.
I think it wasn't mentioned, but it certainly overwhelmed the city through.
Who's that guy that has the presentation? What's his name?
Josh Goldstein?
Yeah, that one. Get him in touch with her. He actually has a video of it, but just different dynamics that he's studied around the Cinderella City. He also did something on flood. The high school, I mean.
Oh.
Okay, so Ashley, I owe you 2 contacts, Josh Goldstein and Don Ron.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think you'll get a kick out of Josh Goldstein's presentation too. If you look it up, he actually 3D recreated a full walkthrough to scale of Cinderella City.
Oh, wow.
Like literally you can walk through a 3D building of Cinderella City.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's fun.
It was a real blast from the past for those of us who remember it.
Amazing. Okay, that's all I have today for folks. I'm gonna close this out. Stop sharing. There we go. And yeah, it's great to touch base with folks again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley.
Do you folks mind if I drop off for the rest of your meeting?
Yeah, and
It's your evening.
Enjoy your
waiting, we moved this for City Manager Lewis to do his presentation, and
well, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'm Sean Lewis, City Manager, and I'm coming to you live from the police building where we just finished a police reform task force update with our council and the members of our task force. So thank you for accommodating me on the schedule tonight. And I've enjoyed the conversation and that I've heard so far. But I, as always, just want to thank you for your service to the community and, of course, the important work of historic preservation And you are to be particularly commended because I don't know of any commission whose meetings are consistently longer in length than yours. So I commend you for your dedication and perseverance. I come to you tonight just to talk a little bit about some good news that I wanted to share with you, and also just begin to introduce a topic to you that I think is really exciting. And it's related to the work that you're doing in neighborhoods with the neighborhood mapping project. And I appreciate the time and effort you all and communications, neighborhood resources are putting into that. But the good news is that the City Council, in a recent budget supplemental that they approved $35,000 for neighborhood signage. And if you know the sign business, you know that's not a lot of money, but if we can consistently put a little bit of money each year toward neighborhood signage, I think we can really do some good work in helping to reinforce where it's applicable, the historic names that you all have been working on in partnership with city staff, and as well as just give a sense of place, a sense of identity. A lot of research shows that when neighbors feel connected, residents feel connected to their neighborhood, it really builds that sense of community. And that was our whole purpose of developing the Neighborhood Resources Program, is to connect neighbors to neighbors, to really create a sense of community within neighborhoods. Because in a city of 35,000 people, it's very difficult to have, you can have pride in your community, but it really starts at the neighborhood level, and that's where you really make those connections. And so as we've looked around, historically at Englewood, when Englewood was the strongest, are when neighborhoods were the most connected. In talking to Doug Cohn and others, Englewood was in better shape as a community when residents were engaged and connected not only with their city government and with other organizations in the community, but also to each other. So we think that neighborhood signage is really a way to do that. And so I want to tell you just a little bit about the genesis of that line item in the budget supplemental. And that was actually from Council Member Cheryl Wink. She actually, was on our wayfinding and placemaking committee, which was represented a broad swath of the community that served in that on that important task force, and created what now is the Wayfinding and Placemaking Master Plan. And so that's now online, and you can look that up. There were a few examples of neighborhood signage in there, but they didn't really dig too deep into neighborhood signage because they knew that that would be done on an individual basis. And we certainly don't want all neighborhood signs to look anything alike. One of the best examples, maybe the only example in town, is the Arapahoe Acres signage that are at the corners of the different entrances to that neighborhood. One is on the corner of my property. And I always try to keep my bushes trimmed around so you can see the cool Arapahoe Acres sign. But that's the type of signage that we think could be really valuable in different parts of the city. I don't think that those were probably quite expensive. I don't know, at $35,000, I don't know that we could do more than a couple of neighborhoods probably a year. But yeah, it's just a really exciting opportunity, and we wanted to let you know about that and just reinforce that the work that you're doing on developing the map is really important to a lot of work that is being I would almost say put on hold until we get that map done, the community engagement. So I'm excited to hear, Chris told me offline just now that you all suggested a study session before we launch. That's great, but time is of the essence. We really need to get this money spent this year, if possible, before the end of the year. We've got programs that I know Madeline is holding off on in terms of, registering neighborhoods and getting more neighborhood group leaders. We're holding off on some of that until we get the map project done. So I really appreciate all the good work that you're putting in. And yeah, I'm glad to answer any questions about neighborhood signage.
The one thing I had thought of was how Denver has just the metal one that is throughout the whole city. It is the same. You don't like that, is what you're saying?
Well, I think certainly if there's a standardized version that, we can put that maybe is just an identification marker, but I really don't want to be limiting. I would love for neighborhoods themselves to look at designs and think about, things that they like, and something that was really unique or creative or maybe tied to their name. Some of the names are really unique and interesting on the map. So are there sign designs that could actually be tied to that? Arapahoe Acres is a good example. I think how terrible it would be to have those Denver signs in Arapahoe Acres instead of the incredible mid-century, very design, shape, font that you all selected for Arapahoe Acres. So I personally think that the individualized approach is the best.
I throw out the idea the cost of maintaining those is pretty significant.
Is it?
Because they are wood, and the idea of vandalism and accidents that have hit them and things like that. Not your corner, thank goodness, but just that idea that we, thank goodness, have a gentleman and his wife that maintain them.
Wow.
So just FYI.
No, that's great feedback. I actually think, unless a neighborhood was just insistent on wood, we would really be encouraging materials that hopefully required less maintenance and had a pretty long lifespan. But you're right, there's going to be a cost to maintain those. And every sign that's in the city, there's a cost to maintain it. So it would definitely be adding to our inventory of signs to maintain when we put these signs up. So it's a good point.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't have any decision points that I needed from the commission. I just wanted to brief you on that and just encourage you in your neighborhood mapping work that we are excited and have lots of things in the wings ready when these neighborhoods start forming.
The one thing that I don't know if you'll hear later, but Matt brought up a very good point on why Chris brought up that idea of the city council, is because sometimes the constituents are going to go straight to their council person. And so we thought them having the insider scoop would be best. And if they saw something obviously wrong, they could help us start the corrections.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I'll just dovetail in on that too. And thank you, Sean, for that. I think the signage is a great idea. Yeah, but with the neighborhoods, I think we did the best we could right now, and it's a good starting point. And it's one of those things where you look at the whole picture and the whole, because actually this wasn't, reviewed by the Historic Preservation. I'm sorry, the Englewood. I almost did it too. Englewood Historic Preservation Society. And there was a little bit of feedback that was received from that. So yeah, I understand the importance of getting this done before funding runs out for the remaining portion of the project. Of course, this is a very dynamic and a very, can be controversial topic. So getting council's input and total disclosure, Linda's district, Hampton Hills, we paid very special attention to that to make sure we got that boundary right, because she called it out. Yeah. And that's the feedback that we'd like to have right now initially, is the council members going, hey, wait a second, I know this area, I walked this area, that's different. And then that hopefully will follow a little bit of the resistance in the community.
I think it's a great way forward.
Cool. Thank you, Sean.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairwoman.
Thank you for this.
Thanks.
It's exciting to think about that. And we could start a lot of bickering in various neighborhoods over what they want their neighborhood to be called and what kind of a sign they would like. And we might end up just saying, here is the sign and here's for your neighborhood. And you don't like it, move, I guess. But
the one thing that I like to say sometimes, and it's difficult to get there, but out of conflict comes resolution. So sometimes by debating something and having the level of conflict comes to a better point.
True. And actually just getting a neighborhood to talk about the history of their neighborhood and how they view it is the beginning of the dialogue there. And hopefully the surveys and so forth are also going to start that dialogue going. It's going to be interesting. So what is the difference in establishment signage? Which we've also had on the agenda.
Oh, I'll have to let someone else who heard that agenda item answer that question. Maybe Chris or Eric?
I think that was actually the same agenda item as Sean was going to talk about. They just kind of got muddled together and somehow got separated into two agenda items, unless I'm
I was
mistaken.
about to say, it would be two separate items, because I know the Historic Preservation Society had raised money and we're going to create what I would call establishment signs that have the history or markers that way, right, Matt?
Well, I think
That is
Yes.
something different.
there was a partnership that that's going on right now, actually, with Chris's team.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't realize that that was on the agenda. I was probably supposed to cover that as well, but I'll be glad to jump in. In fact, 3 people on this call are intimately involved with this. And that is Matt, Chris, and myself. And then another member of the Englewood Historic Preservation Society. I'm blanking. My good friend Lindsay Runyon. So we are working together on some funding also that was in that supplemental on historic interpretive markers that can be placed at historic sites. So I call those interpretive plaques. And so we're working on 2 different types of designs. One is a wall mounted and one is a freestanding that would sit on buildings that you don't want to attach something to, or maybe that's set back from the roadway. So you want to put the interpretive marker closer to the sidewalk where people will see it. But we're really excited about that. And we're working very closely with the Preservation Society on that. You know, Lindsay's obviously a board member and she's the designer. And then I think Doug Cohn is working on a lot of the verbiage for that. So yeah, we're not quite, we haven't even refined our final designs on that. So we're not quite ready to present it yet, but we're really excited to show the HBC and get you all involved in that as well. And glad to, Matt, Chris, anything else?
Okay, yeah, that's because I remember when we first started, there was a request that we should like look at putting an interpretive sign or a designation on the site of the Alexander Aircraft Factory. And like on the sidewalk outside King Supers, you know, but just to let people know that this is where it was.
I don't know if you wanted to, Chris, if you wanted to say something.
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Melinda just said, when I started this job and we started the historic video series that I was so excited to do, somebody said to me, "Why are you doing a series like that? Englewood has no history." And it actually really made me angry. So it was exciting to do the series and to be able to show people, here's what used to be here, whether it's Tuileries and the amusement park. And I think that especially the younger generations don't understand the kind of history that Englewood has. And, the communications team is so happy to be a part of that. And we'd love to kind of engage more on some of these projects that we're doing, historical perspective with HB. Looking forward to doing that in the future.
Thank you, Chris. And I'll also say that, when the Historic Society formed many years ago, the prospect of being able to collaborate with the city to the degree that we are now, I mean, it's just amazing to see where we're at now. And to see where the fantastic work that Chris and Lindsay did on the last booklets, I should say, those were a huge success. I mean, a huge hit. The members of our society really enjoyed them, and I know they all kind of went very quickly. So being able to continue that is fantastic. And the more we do this, and Sean, I'm sure you feel the same way about this, but the more that we do this kind of recognition for what Englewood is and where it's come from, will help identify Englewood more as an area. And for many years, Englewood was a speed bump in between Denver and Littleton. and having more identity will help us as a city, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Some of you were at my interview with the community when I said, I don't go to cities that don't have a history. I have no desire to work in Thornton or in Westminster or somewhere that, for a lack of a better term, has no soul. I really want to work in a city with history and with that heritage, and a downtown that's a representation of that history and heritage. And, you know, between Chris and I, in the city's leadership team at the staff level, plus his great team that's very interested in history, we will not rest until people know the history and we get it out there and we promote it. And, you know, we really want to resource that to really make history something that sets us apart, because it does. I mean, yes, we have Littleton to the south that has a history, and of course Denver has a history, but who else has history? It's really a distinguishing feature of our community. There are only a handful of cities in the Denver metro that can really point to and highlight and build on that history. So we're really excited to do whatever we can to help do that.
Oh, that's great. And of course, the videos, the moments in Englewood history have, I think, been very, very popular. And if only the narrator could learn to pronounce Colorado, just a mild little thing that makes me gnash my teeth. But otherwise, they're full of useful information. So.
And I have a tendency to get off on tangents, so forgive me. I'll make this really, really quickly. And I can't remember, Chris, if this was in the Alexander Industries moments in history or not, but Al Mooney was one of the original engineers for Alexander Eagle Rock, the actual making the first airplane. He later formed a company that still exists today, and Mooney Aircraft Company manufactures airplanes in Texas. And they still are an aircraft company that has heritage back to Englewood here.
Well, and a historian friend of mine who lives in Westminster, the city without soul, remembers Englewood's airport being out at like Monaco and Hamden. And he knew some people that actually lived nearby that overlooked that, which must have been a long time ago, but so you find things in all sorts of places. Somebody that says, "Oh, did you know?" Yeah. So, Chris, your hand is raised.
I'd like to add that if any of you ever have any topics for us, please send them our direction. We obviously don't know everything about Englewood's history. We've covered, I think, most of the kind of stories that everybody knows about. And if you have ideas, gosh, please send them our direction. And when you talk about pronunciation, it's interesting that we're constantly trying to figure out pronunciations. Colorado should be easy. I'm going to go back and listen to that, in fact, to see how he's pronouncing Colorado. But we always rely on Doug Cohn. Tomorrow, in fact, we're releasing a video on Englewood's first police chief, who was Charles Sevier, and we went back and forth with Doug on pronunciation of Sevier. I thought perhaps it could be Sevier, but you never know. So we're always happy to kind of rely on that local knowledge, when we produce these videos. So again, would really love to get some topic ideas for future videos.
We'll be thinking about it then. And I don't know, as a Colorado native, and I went to elementary school in Colorado, and our music teacher taught us when we were singing songs about Colorado that you pronounce it Colorado, because it doesn't sing well when you say Colorado. So that's how you could spot the natives.
What's next? What's next?
What's next is, and I think we've lost Dugan, haven't we? The amendments to 16611. We were going to ask if we could present those to council.
Yeah, and Dugan had messaged me, and he wasn't feeling well, so he got off the meeting a little early, and had said that if you guys had any questions for him, to table those until the next meeting. But if it's in terms of getting these, I guess if there are no questions and you're looking at moving forward to getting these before City Council, I can speak with Brad Power, the Community Development Director, and have him get that on the council's upcoming, like a study session agenda.
I think that was what our question was, what we had discussed last time is our final crack at it. When was it, when could we present it to council?
The one thing I want to be concerned with is that the map thing and the ordinance thing do not overlap. I don't know how to say that. I want them to, I think the council needs to know these are two definitely different projects.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that, you know, the overall language is going to be included in the Title 16 code rewrite. And so what is there now, you know, has not received that public input. And we, you know, because we haven't really gotten to that community engagement stage of the Code Next project. So this could very well change moving forward based on community input. So I think the feeling is that there's no kind of expediency needed, since this code rewrite is going to take probably another good 12 to 16 months.
That's what I was thinking, was it was going to be 2 years, and what we were hoping was something before, and you're saying that can't happen.
Well, I just don't know if it would be beneficial to take something in front of council that has the potential to change. I mean, like I said, I can run it by the community development director. He might have a different idea about that. But that is kind of where I thought we had left it the last time.
Because his plan is to do it, the entire rewrite in one lump.
Yep, yeah, that's going to be part of the larger, you know, Title 16 code rewrite.
So
the historic preservation language is a part of that Title 16.
Eric, I'll throw this out there. I totally understand what the city is doing. Title 16 and the rewrite there is a big project, and there's a lot of moving pieces that have to be accomplished with that. However, the work that we have done with the commission here arguably could be its own package. And if there's any way to implement that separately from the rest of the Title 16 rework, I don't think there'd be a whole lot of overlap outside of our individual area. The benefit in doing so is that would allow us to activate the the historic designation process within the city quicker, and that would really truly legitimize our commission on a larger scale much quicker than 2 years down the road.
I agree. I don't think it needs to be urgent, but it definitely needs to be moved ahead the time scale that the city's looking at for the other rewrite. And if it changes in 2 years, that's fine, but at least we can get started. I agree with Matt.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, I will reach out to the planning manager and the community development director, because I know they both, after several discussions, had decided that the best place for the historical preservation language would be included with the Title 16 rewrite.
And they may need to come and present to us specifically then.
I would also mention that your council liaison, he and I are trying to meet next week. And so this is something that maybe I'll pull Eric and Brad into, and we can talk to him about his desires to bring this forward. But certainly we hear you loud and clear that you would like for that to go sooner than maybe the larger rewrite package. Can I get a head nod on that? Yes, okay. All right, good. We'll definitely let him know that, and he would be the one who would forward that on to council for discussion. So we'll talk about that next week.
After our last meeting, also, Councilmember Questa was going to get with you and see if there was a way we could show our historic maps to council without going through getting on the agenda for a study session and so forth. Just kind of send a link, and I'm not sure whether that happened.
Yes, we've been trying to, this is one of the topics for the meeting that we're trying to get set up for next week. So I actually pinged my administrative assistant to make sure that we finalize getting that on. I did that tonight. So, and I did correspond with Dave Cuesta today about that, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we kind of think council would like to see that, and we don't really need to get dressed up and come to a council meeting to present it. You know, just a little, hey, take a look at this. So. I believe that was what we all agreed last time, so. So, well, and we already discussed the kind of our new business of the Celebrate Englewood event. I may have another commitment on that day, I'm not sure, so. I will let you know, Eric.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if you guys could check your schedules and let me know if you'll be able to volunteer, let me know as soon as possible. That would be great.
CJ, can't I work Saturdays and Sundays?
Well, and is the society having a booth, Matt, or?
For this particular event, we will not. This is predominantly, I think the focus on this particular event will be for the Historic Preservation Commission, and the communications team within the city. Eric, I believe there's one more organization that you had mentioned that was part of that.
Well, that because I know that Case is going to have a booth, which is why I may have a commitment with them.
I can hop in. So yeah, for this event, the HPC booth is also going to be shared with Community Development's Code Next, Title 16 outreach booth. And then we have a little bit of communications coming over as well, because they're going to be the ones providing the gold panning. So we have a pretty packed booth. In addition, this is a large part to help get out that survey that Pinyon is getting out for the reconnaissance. So it will be, a pretty packed booth for this event. That being said, I was going to bring it up during staff's choice, but I'll just go ahead and mention it now that if the Englewood Historical Society and if the Englewood Historic Commission has any ideas about potentially going to the Englewood Block Party, that might be an option that we can consider for the September event.
Jumping in there, Eric, you and I had a discussion for visibility and transparency for everybody. We had a discussion on this last night. The Englewood Historic Preservation Society has interest in participating in the block party, and think it would be kind of neat to collaborate with the Historic Preservation Commission as a joint effort to be at the event together at our own booth. And some of the ideas that were raised this at this point is to have a screen set up and playing the moments in history videos from the city, kind of looping through those, be kind of neat. Be able to offer some information. We can, of course, the Historic Society can advertise the events that we've had in the past, the lectures and whatnot, and obviously upcoming events. And then the commission could benefit from, you know, further community outreach. At that point in time, I'd assume that'd be really close to the point that the Englewood Maps project will go public, and probably towards the tail end. Correct me if I'm wrong. What day is it, Eric? I can't remember. I think it's
September 18th.
Yeah, so that'd be a really prime time for the Historic Preservation Commission to present the end of the survey and then the beginning of the maps project.
Well, and the opinion survey would still be going on then in September, so we could also be handing out or still pushing the survey in case we've missed anybody.
Yep, and I do believe Ashley was going to have a presence there as well, at least for part of the day, for on behalf of Pinyon.
So I'm just kind of curious if folks think that a partnership between the Historic Society and the Historic Preservation Commission would be a benefit.
Well, and our next meeting is the 15th of September. So we can probably finalize whatever we're going to be doing there at that time.
Not hearing any significant opposition, although it is just now Melinda, Jason, and myself.
Yeah, I saw that CJ we lost CJ. Oh, there she's, okay, she's,
Here she comes.
because I was like, all right, now all of a sudden we don't have a quorum, so.
Yeah,
I think,
We're good.
I think collaboration's a good idea. Yeah, see how that looks.
Sweet, awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So we'll plan kind of accordingly and tentatively at this point on our side. And I know Lindsay Runyon will be, you know, doing some planning on that. So we'll bring up some ideas, and Linda, we can send over the ideas to you, and then we can kind of finalize next month.
Okay. That should work. Are there other items for Commissioner's choice?
I do have something. Couple things here, actually, or one thing, because we already talked about the block party. I'll share my screen with let's see if I can get the right screen here, with the poster for this month. It's going to be a really cool lecture for the Historic Society. And sharing screen. Why? There it is. Share screen, and right there. Everybody can see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
You can see the poster? I have the right screen, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so the excerpt on this one is, join us in welcoming Corky Scholes of Save the Signs. Established in 2012, Save the Signs is dedicated to promoting and preserving Colorado's neon heritage. Photojournalist Corky Scholes is the founder of the Neon Sign Preservation Group, with an active following of over 16,000 on Facebook. Yeah, so that's going to be a really, I think, really cool lecture. So y'all can make that. That'll be pretty cool. And as a bonus, later in the evening, because obviously this will be two events. There'll be the one at the library at 2:30 p.m. and there'll be the one at the filling station at 6:30 p.m. And as a bonus, for those that couldn't see the Tesla coil function at my Tesla lecture, I'm going to bring the hopefully functional Tesla coil back out. Hopefully there won't be any more meltdowns, because that's always fun. No more smoke. Anyway, later in the evening, well after this event, after the lecture is over, anybody remaining that would like to see the Tesla coil run, I'll be bringing it back.
Yay.
It's always the best after dark anyway.
And then this is CJ on September 19th. We're having our Chalk Fest at Arapahoe Acres. That part isn't historic. But if you wanted to take a walking tour of Englewood, you get entertained with people's chart arts. Mayor Linda Olson will be passing out the awards around 3 o'clock. So just FYI. Oh, and we'll have a food truck, a legal one. Not a food truck, Kona Ice. Kona Ice food truck will be there. So September 19th, put it on your calendar, 3-ish. You want to take a walking tour.
That's a Sunday, right? The day after the block party.
And I didn't have anything.
Well, I will move that we adjourn.
Second.
Have a good evening.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you all.
All right, so meeting adjourned at 8:22.
Good night.
Thanks. That's an hour ahead of what we did last time.
All right, take care, guys.
Yeah.